This is our third SOOTHE webinar. And if you will recall, if you've been at the previous webinars, that SOOTHE is a project which has been undertaken by colleagues in Ireland, Netherlands, and Spain. And the focus of the work has been on responding to mental health concerns in adults with intellectual disability. I think it's a particularly timely piece of work. It was timely when we started doing it in January of this year. It became even more timely as COVID-19 started to hit so many parts of the world. And as we know, many people in society have experienced significant challenges to their mental health over the last 10 months. And we know also that many people with intellectual disability are experiencing anxiety and challenges during this time. And we heard about some of those in webinar 1 when we saw the images that people had prepared. And we heard about some of these as we talked about the processes of the SOOTHE project in webinar 2. We also heard that people were speaking about their mental health being challenged at this time. So that's the focus of this webinar. We're going to be looking at what people with intellectual disability have told us about mental health and well-being and what we can learn from that. I think I mentioned at the first webinar that when we sought funding for this project, somebody asked us, why would you go and talk to people with intellectual disability about mental health? We all know what mental health is, but it's important that the people who experience mental health concerns are able to speak about those things. And that is at the basis of this project. So the program for today, and again, the webinar is about 90 minutes. And I encourage your participation in this. We don't want you just to be passively watching. We want you to ask questions. And there is a Q&A facility at the on the Zoom screen. Please use the Q&A facility to ask questions, and please ask your questions in English, in Dutch, or in Espanol. So you're all welcome. I'm going to go through some introductions to people in a moment, but we will be explaining again, for those who weren't here before, the background to the project. We will be focusing on the main work here, which is the findings from the people themselves. And another really interesting part of this, which I've had some insight to, but I was on the outside of this, was some of the innovations that we've looked at, which can help people to control their own mental health and well-being. And that all fits within the model of recovery, the idea that we move the locus of control into the person rather than into the professionals only. We want to have a discussion about communities of practice. How can we create communities of people who are interested in mental health within the intellectual disability population, both in our countries and across Europe? And then there is time for questions and answers at the end. So my name is Fintan Sheeran. I'm Associate Professor in Intellectual Disability Nursing in Trinity College, Dublin, and I'm the principal investigator in this work. So it's myself. I'm going to ask each person as I go through them to just introduce themselves very briefly in their own language, preferably. So Sandra.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Sandra Fleming, and I'm a lecturer in intellectual disability nursing, in the School of Nursing and Midwifery in Trinity College. And I was one of the co-investigators on the Irish arm of the project.
Thank you, Sandra. Eddie.
Well, my name's Eddie McCann, and like Sandra, I'm a lecturer in mental health in the School of Nursing and Midwifery, Trinity College, Dublin, and I'm a co-facilitator on the project.
Thank you. Jose.
Buenos días, soy José Durán, soy terapeuta ocupacional en Parc Sanitaire Sant Joan de Déu de Barcelona y bueno, y poco más, voy a explicar un poco que estoy encantado de volver a estar aquí en estos seminarios.
Gracias. Desiree.
Sí, hola, buenos días, soy Desiree Ferrer, trabajadora social del SEMT, un servicio de salud mental y para personas con discapacidad intelectual. Comentaros que por vuestra parte la idea hablaremos en español y daremos una breve síntesis en inglés, nada más.
Gracias, Desiree. Pablo.
Thanks, Vincent. Yeah, so my name is Pablo Alvarez, and I'm a tech lead at the Learnovate Center at Trinity College Dublin, and I'm going to be presenting you how Learnovate team process help work package 2 and 3 to be promoted, promoting solutions for people with mental health issues.
Okay, thank you, Pablo. Frank has been part of the team, so and he's here today. So I don't think he's speaking today, but Frank, you might want to say hello.
Yeah, good morning. Frank O'Reilly is my name. Like Pablo, I'm a member of the Learnovate team at Trinity College Dublin. I worked with Pablo, but also Sandra and Eddie on work packages 2 and 3. Thank you.
Thank you. Walter from Netherlands.
Thank you. My name is Walter Paans. I am working at the Hanze University of Applied Science and the University Medical Center in the north of the Netherlands, Groningen. I work from out the Center of Expertise Healthy Aging, and I am going to tell you later on something more about that. So some brief words to the Dutch joining us. Iedereen van harte welkom bij deze webinar. We gaan het vandaag hebben over onder andere Centers of Expertise voor mensen met een beperking. Ik wens jullie allemaal ontzettend veel plezier bij deze webinar. Dank je wel. Thank you.
Thank you, Walter. Niamh.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Niamh Mulrine. I'm a psychiatrist working in the Dorset Charity Services, and I'm also a member of the team at the Trinity Centre for Ageing and Intellectual Disability.
Thank you, Niamh. And finally, Carlos.
Good morning, my name is Carlos Peña. I'm a psychiatrist and neurologist here in the hospitalization unit for people with mental disorders and intellectual disability in Parc Sanitari Sant Joan de Déu in Barcelona. Hola, mi nombre es Carlos Peña, soy psiquiatra y neurólogo y trabajo en la unidad de hospitalización en salud mental y discapacidad intelectual en el Parque Sanitario San Juan de Dios en Barcelona.
Thank you, gracias, Pablo. Carlos. So, just to, as you've seen, we have a number of countries represented here and a number of languages represented here, and it's important that we acknowledge that. And so, my colleagues from the Netherlands and from Spain, for some of their presentation, will speak in Spanish and maybe in Dutch, but they will translate and a part of it and synopsize what's there, and it's part of the recognition of the different cultures that come together within this piece of work. So that also contributes to the richness of this work. So the outcomes of this webinar, I've already pretty much said this, and I won't labor it. So we will be going through some findings, and we're going to primarily talk about the community of practice. So just to go through the project again very briefly, and I'll run through this. The project is about people. It's not about people with intellectual disability, it's about people. And the same types of things which happen to people in mainstream society around their mental health happens to people with intellectual disability. So why would we treat them as any different than ourselves? So we've been very lucky to have a number of people coming together from 3 different countries in this project. In Ireland, we've had the Daughters of Charity who have worked with us in Trinity College Dublin. In Spain, we have what in Ireland we would call the St. John of God service, the Parc Sanitari Sant Joan de Déu. And in Netherlands, we've had the Hanze University of Applied Science and University Medical Center Groningen, and they have been working with a number of different agencies in the northern part of the Netherlands. One thing we've noticed in this is that irrespective of which country we focus on, the same types of things are happening in the lives of people with intellectual disability in terms of their mental health. There are lots of similarities here, and we should not be in any way surprised about that, because these similarities are things which are common to human beings. And the types of things which happen for people, for human beings, is that they experience normal stress, normal mood changes, and anxiety. These happen in everybody's life. Some of us are experiencing these more at the moment than we would have before, especially as some of us move towards Christmas, and we don't know how much risk there will be as we come together for Christmas. And as we see more restrictions coming, we become more anxious. Sometimes that anxiety can be so prevalent in people's lives that they need to have medication and they need to see doctors for it. Sometimes it can become so embedded in their lives that it manifests in pathophysiological ways. If you, I apologize for that term, but that's the only way I can describe it. And it starts to express itself in very clear signs of depression and anxiety, which become almost overarching in their lives. And they may need even more interventions. And sometimes these problems can be become so embedded in people that they manifest themselves in very significant, debilitating issues for people. And this is a problem not just for a small group of people. It's a problem for very large groups of people. And from a health service point of view, this costs a lot of money. And the more prevalent and the bigger the problem becomes, the more intervention that is needed and the more money that is needed. So if we are able to address issues around the area of stress, low mood and anxiety, we may be able to prevent other problems occurring for people and also prevent the need to spend lots of money on managing problems that should not have happened in the first place. Our program is about listening to people, providing the possibility for people to speak with their own voice and for us to hear that voice, and together through engagement, we co-create solutions. We co-create definitions of mental health and well-being, and we co-create solutions. The program for doing this had a number of work packages in it. The first work package we discussed in webinar 1, and I have one slide in a moment just to recap on that. Work package 2 and 3, we discussed the processes, the way that we did the program in that, and we talked about that being a replicable, a repeatable program. And today we're going to be focusing on what we learned in terms of mental health and well-being. The program, as I said, is replicable. We want to disseminate the information from that, and the information comes out of the program itself. And when other people work on this and repeat this program, we want that information to help us to learn how we can make the program even better. So in webinar 1, you will remember the wonderful electronic patchwork quilt, or eQuilt, of mental health and well-being. And that is on the SOOTHE website. And there's also a slideshow of each of the pieces of work on the SOOTHE website, and I'll give you information for that at the end. And just I've remembered something there in the top corner of this screen. If you use social media, please message on Twitter or Instagram or Facebook or whatever social media you use, and the hashtag is #SootheQuilt, as you'll see on the top right of the screen. In the second webinar, we heard about how the workshops were done, and whilst they were done in different ways in each country, I think what's on webinar 2 slides there presents some idea of the different processes. In each country we prepared, we had to prepare in the reality of COVID-19, which meant in many cases we had to do this as a virtual activity. We had activities which took place during the workshops in each of the countries. We gathered information and helped people to focus their thoughts in particular ways, so that again their voice would come out as opposed to us pre-configuring it. And after the workshop, there was opportunities for understanding and debriefing, and for learning what the meaning was within the things that people with intellectual disability told us. So today we're interested in focusing on what we learned. And I'm going to hand over at this point to my colleague, Eddie McCann, who's going to lead us through the section on the findings pertaining to people's understandings of mental health and well-being. And there will be contributions from each of the countries in this, and in their own languages as well. So Eddie, I'm going to stop sharing my screen.
Lovely. Thank you very much, Fintan. Yes, in this section, so we're going to look at the findings pertaining to people's understanding of mental health and well-being. And we'll go to each country. We'll start with the Netherlands experience, and we'll go over to Walter to share that with us.
So I really like to share some thoughts, and I think in the Netherlands we are quite progressive in seeking for high quality of life, and we are aiming for more diversity in, for instance, residential areas and less institutionalization. For example, by improving acceptance and support in mainstream schools for the young ones, and to seek for the development of technology support, for example, to measure health and fitness for everyone, not only for the sportive ones, and not only for people who can easily work themselves through complex fitness apps and these kind of things, but really technology support for everyone, for easy use and for having a good experience. So we are really into technology support and to be able to deinstitutionalize. One part of these developments is also in the area of remote care facilities to safely, for instance, navigate in non-institutional areas. We call this in the Netherlands, maybe it sounds a little bit crazy term in English, we call it delusion neighborhoods. So neighborhoods where people with a disability, for example, also dementia or other kind of disabilities, mentally, but also physical, but where everyone can be safe, protected, and is able to live with support without having the feeling that they are different or that you're different. So you could call it inclusion areas, so to say, and it's a little bit silly that we have to talk in these kind of concepts, because of course the whole society should be a delusion neighborhood, but we know, we experienced from our research projects that we really need to invest in facilities to be able to create safe areas. Providing one of the issues in these neighborhoods is providing work related to high social value, not just occupational therapy. There's nothing wrong with occupational therapy, but we want to go beyond and to invest in schools of expertise centers. We are just going to into what is an expertise center, but one of the aims of our expertise center is to create accessibility for everyone and to create work, for instance, manual creative craftsmanships, and that we are able to give a full reward for the work. So we learned from the SOOTHE project that we have had very beautiful quilt products. So you can, in these neighborhoods, you can show them in musea. And so you have to pay to go to a museum. If you want to have a piece of art, you can buy it. You can buy it online, and you can store it in your home or in your community buildings. So to create social value and to show that the work, what's done, is of a value. Creating in these areas, creating centers of expertise where we can learn not only from the professionals, not only from the researchers, but that we can learn from the people themselves. That's, I think, the next step, and to create health literacy in the triangle, citizens, professionals, and carers. So, but creating centers of expertise in society is not very easy. You have to have attention to it over a longer term. So I really like to discuss later on how we can do it and how we can cooperate internationally and how we can learn from each other. So thank you. This just as a brief introduction.
Very good. Thank you very much, Walter. That's great. We'll move now on to ask Jose and Desiree to give us the Spanish side of things.
Sí. Hola, buenos días a todos. Vamos a hablar en este apartado, mi compañero José Durán y yo, Desiree Ferrer, soy de nuevo. Vamos a hablar de los aprendizajes que las personas con discapacidad intelectual obtuvieron en relación a la salud mental y el bienestar. Antes de pasar directamente a los aprendizajes, vamos a hacer una breve síntesis, ¿vale?, del objetivo principal del proyecto, como de cuál ha sido la estructura. Hago recordar que ya lo hablamos en detenimiento de la semana pasada, en el anterior webinar, que hicimos de cada apartado lo que hicimos, ¿no? Y en concreción cada sesión de qué trató, como de los resultados que obtuvimos. Bien, el proyecto SOOTHE, la idea, la mayor importancia que le dábamos, ¿no?, era el protagonismo a las personas con discapacidad intelectual y cuál era su opinión en base también a sus experiencias personales en relación a la salud mental y al bienestar. Fueron personas con discapacidad intelectual, en este caso moderada, con una mediana edad de 40 a 45 años, y en este caso participaron de la residencia de Santa Ana del Parc Sanitari Sant Joan de Déu de aquí de Barcelona. El objetivo principal era conocer, ¿no?, cuáles eran aquellas necesidades bajo la perspectiva de las personas con discapacidad intelectual sobre la salud mental y el bienestar. Y además, ¿no?, promover esas estrategias a través del grupo para mejorar y paliar esas necesidades que se diesen. Como fases del proyecto, en sí fueron tres principales fases del Workpage 1, 2 y 3. La primera fase fue el eQuilt, el conocido eQuilt, esa recopilación de imágenes donde las personas con discapacidad expresaron a nivel artístico, a través de pinturas, a través de manualidades, que entendían que eran ellos la salud mental y el bienestar. Lo hicimos en diferentes fases, durante el preconfinamiento, el confinamiento y el después de la etapa de confinamiento, que fueron los meses de verano en este caso. Y lo diferenciamos así porque la verdad que se vieron diferencias en función de estas diferentes etapas, y después mi compañero ya explicará en detalle qué diferencias fueron estas, ¿no? La segunda parte, el Workpage 2, era sobre el entendimiento de la salud mental y el bienestar. En esto realizamos 3 sesiones de focus group con un grupo de 10 personas con discapacidad intelectual, recuerdo, de la residencia de Santa Ana. Estos focus group fueron presenciales y luego, bueno, y posterior, ya por último, fue el Workpage 3, donde se explicaron, ¿no?, qué estrategias, qué soluciones, qué formas de abordar se pueden hacer, ¿no?, a esas necesidades en relación a la salud mental. Esto se hizo de forma virtual, dado que las situaciones de momento hicieron imposible de realizarlas de forma presencial, así que quisimos hacerla de forma, ¿no?, buscar una alternativa, hacerla de forma virtual. La hicimos en 4 sesiones, debido a que también el grupo de 10 personas lo dividimos en 2 para el mayor entendimiento de todos. Bien, pues ahora voy a explicar lo que sí, ya en la profundidad, digamos, los aprendizajes de la primera parte, del eQuilt. Los aprendizajes que consideran las personas con discapacidad intelectual que participaron, ¿no?, de este proyecto, dieron mucha importancia a la salud mental, la relacionaban con el cubrir, el dar solución a esas necesidades básicas, ya sea como algo material, ¿no?, algo como el tener un plato de comida, ¿no?, y dibujaban un plato de comida como algo que para ellos les ayudaba a tener una buena salud mental. Otros aspectos también importantes, el pertenecer a un grupo, el identificarse, el estar dentro de una comunidad, ¿no?, el identificarse con otras personas. Y también dieron importancia el hacer actividades, y actividades de realización personal, actividades que realmente para ellos consideraban significativas para estar bien. Podemos ver en las imágenes, ¿no?, el dar una vuelta en coche para ellos era muy importante para sentirse bien. También destacar, ¿no?, los factores externos incidieron en esa expresión artística, en esos dibujos, y también obviamente la situación de COVID incidió en esta, y después explicaremos de qué forma. Y ya por último destacar en ese sentido del eQuilt, vimos una transformación de esta tarea, dado que en un inicio empezó la imagen, ¿no? Era como una actividad, algo que hacer por parte de ellos, ¿no? Pero poco a poco fue transformándose a una estrategia, una forma de expresar cómo cada uno se sentía y reflejarlo para que los demás también pudiesen verlo. En cuanto a los aprendizajes de la segunda parte de Workpage 2, este Workpage 2, repito, era sobre el entendimiento de la salud mental. La salud mental era entendida, y hago recordatorio, de una forma muy biologicista, negativa, ¿no? La relacionaban con enfermedad mental, cronicidad, la necesidad de ser atendido o tener un tratamiento médico, y en comparación del bienestar, que era esa diversidad de actividades para que uno se encuentre bien y esté bien también con los demás, ¿no? Y esa gran diferencia entre la imagen de salud mental y bienestar. La salud mental también la relacionaban con estados anímicos como tristeza, estrés, ansiedad y soledad. Estos estados anímicos los relacionaban con experiencias personales, y estas experiencias cabe destacar que las relacionaban mucho con su pasado, ¿no? Eran experiencias de, por ejemplo, pérdidas de un ser querido, el fin de sus etapas laborales o situaciones de rechazo y discriminación social que la relacionaban mucho como al antes de haber entrado en la residencia, ¿no? Yo viví esto que para mí fue significativo en mi salud mental, ¿no? Y obviamente también consideraron como factor clave el COVID, las restricciones del COVID, el no poder tener ese contacto con las familias, el no poder salir fuera de lo que es el establecimiento de la residencia para hacer actividades, ¿no? Esto consideraron como un factor que les incide a su salud mental. Como aprendizajes de esta segunda parte se puede decir ese cambio de mirada de la salud mental, desde una parte, ¿no?, de algo, como hemos dicho, ¿no?, biologicista, tener en cuenta también una relación de salud mental con el bienestar, teniendo en cuenta cómo aspectos sociales, el estar con los compañeros, el estar con la familia, como aspectos emocionales, el estar bien con uno mismo, el estar animado, puede incidir en nuestra salud mental, ¿no? Además, se vio un aprendizaje en el sentido de que en un inicio había un rechazo a querer expresar las propias experiencias en relación a la salud mental, y este rechazo se fue evolucionando a lo largo de las sesiones a querer compartir, gracias también a sentirse identificado los unos con los otros, ¿no? El que otro compañero explicase propias experiencias, ellos también se veían reflejados en esta. Bien. Las personas participantes con discapacidad intelectual destacaron como factores negativos para su salud mental el no seguimiento del tratamiento médico. Un factor clave para ellos era el no seguir el tratamiento, la falta de hábitos saludables, las situaciones externas que también pueden incidir en su salud mental, consideraban que de hecho las restricciones les estaban incidiendo, y el no sentirse escuchado o no sentirse entendido. En cambio, como factores positivos para su correcta, digamos, salud mental y bienestar, destacaban el hablar, el sentirse bien, sentirse escuchados y sentirse bien con uno mismo y con los demás, ¿no? También daban mucha importancia los participantes al apoyo. El apoyo lo consideraron como un espacio clave para sentirse bien, y destacaron principalmente el apoyo profesional, en específico del psiquiatra y del psicólogo, ¿no? Esto nos llamó la atención, ¿no? Principalmente eran los profesionales los que ellos tendían a pedir apoyo cuando se sentían más nerviosos o necesitaban hablar con alguien. Y en una segunda parte dejaban a la familia, digamos, ¿no? Y obviamente el tema del apoyo mutuo, en este caso no se llegó a hablar. Otro aspecto positivo que hablaron, ¿no?, fue el de ver a las familias, el hacer actividades fuera, en la comunidad con las familias, el mantener unos hábitos de vida saludable. Y ya por último, el mantener una actitud positiva para hacer actividades. Ellos decían las ganas de hacer las actividades, ¿no?, era primordial para que también ellos se sintieran bien. Vale, pues a continuación mi compañero José va a continuar con los aprendizajes de la tercera parte.
Gracias, Desiree. Después de haber hecho este análisis de los factores positivos y negativos que influyen en la salud mental y el bienestar, había que buscar soluciones o maneras de conseguir, ¿no?, esos factores positivos influyesen como debían. Para ello se hicieron varias propuestas desde el grupo focal, entre ellas hacer talleres de relajación o de mindfulness, que realmente estaba relacionado con ese sentirse bien con uno mismo, con los compañeros, ofrecer espacios musicales o espacios donde se reduzcan los estímulos como actividad, como para realizar actividades significativas, o de nuevo, ¿no? ese estar bien contigo. El uso de tecnologías como una herramienta para acercarnos al otro, ya sea a los profesionales, como bien ha dicho Desiree, o a las familias, ¿no? Como una herramienta más allá cuando en ciertos momentos en los que nos sentimos mal o necesitamos el apoyo de la comunidad o de la sociedad, podamos estar un poquito más cerca de esas personas que nos ayudan. Y como bien ha dicho al final, ¿no? Esa importancia que tienen aquellas actividades que son significativas para la persona, aquello que nos hace sentir bien porque lo sabemos hacer, porque nos sentimos a gusto, porque compartimos un espacio con nuestros compañeros con los cuales somos felices, pues también tenían un punto muy importante, ¿no? Luego también queríamos hablar un poco de cómo influyó toda esta pandemia del COVID en todo el proyecto, ¿no? Fue algo que realmente al final tuvo mucho peso. Esta pandemia del COVID ha supuesto un factor clave, pero ¿en qué sentido? En sentido negativo. ¿Por qué? Porque era un estresor más allá de poder contagiarte de la enfermedad, teniendo en cuenta esas restricciones que los gobiernos para mantener la salud comunitaria generaron y que oscilaban según la gravedad, y eso generaba una incertidumbre que en muchas ocasiones podía dar comienzo a enfermedades mentales o que empeorasen las que ya se estaban sufriendo. También supuso un inconveniente para nosotros en el proyecto. Tuvimos que cambiar un poco la visión y la forma en la que tuvimos que abordar todo lo que buscábamos en este proyecto. Como bien ha comentado Desiree, durante el eQuilt tuvimos que analizar todos los dibujos, todas las imágenes que nos llegaron, y una manera en la que lo hicimos fue a través de la etapa en la que estábamos por la pandemia. En este caso, pues fueron tres: la pre-confinamiento o pre-COVID, la del confinamiento y la del post-confinamiento. Pero ¿qué es lo que vimos en ellas? En el primer seminario pues lo vimos un poquito más a grandes rasgos, pero si entrásemos un poquito más, pues bueno, lo que decíamos, como material indispensable o fuente de bienestar indispensable, aquellos materiales, aquellos deseos materiales o deseos inmediatos para satisfacer y tener un bienestar directo. En los dibujos veíamos dibujos poco elaborados y carentes de color. Esto también lo veíamos un poco influenciado en que para los participantes que participaban de manera voluntaria no encontraban todavía qué les beneficiaba realizar esta actividad, ¿no? No era una actividad significativa, como decíamos, y no acababan de verle dónde podían dar ese plus para ellos. Y bueno, en general, pues eso, además de los deseos materiales, expresaban recuerdos negativos y cómo podían haberse superado. Durante el confinamiento todo esto cambia, las imágenes cambian brutalmente. Es un periodo en el que se reflejan muchísimas experiencias diferentes, de nostalgia, de querer estar con la familia, de las ansias de libertad. Y todo esto, pues bueno, viene un poco dado por lo que hablábamos antes, ¿no? De todas esas restricciones a las que nos vimos enfocados para superar el COVID, y que al final lo que hicieron pues fue darle un sentido a la actividad. De esta manera, ellos tuvieron un espacio en el que conectar emocionalmente consigo mismos, poder explorar todo lo que estaba pasando dentro de ellos con la pérdida de toda su libertad y de todas las actividades que ellos hacían previamente a esta etapa. De esta manera, ellos valoraron muchísimo más todo lo que tienen, incluso esas necesidades que ya no son tan tangibles ni tan inmediatas y que realmente al final son las que para ellos eran importantes. Después del confinamiento, volvíamos a unas imágenes muy parecidas a las del pre-COVID, pero con la diferencia de que el color se mantenía, lo que nos daba a entender que había habido una evolución, ¿no? La actividad era significativa, la actividad conectaba con la persona que participaba, y nuevamente volvemos a perder un poco la fuerza emocional y volvemos a recuperar la necesidad de esos objetos o esos estímulos inmediatos, pero dado a que hemos recuperado cierta parte de la normalidad, lo que aquí en España acabamos llamando la nueva normalidad, ¿no? Eso nos ofreció que se pudieran volver a satisfacer esas necesidades inmediatas y fuesen las primeras en las que pensaban. También es verdad que esta etapa, como ya dijimos en su momento, duró muy poco porque la segunda ola nos volvió a golpear, con lo cual por eso vimos una evolución un poquito más pobre que entre el pre-COVID y el confinamiento. Como conclusiones, durante el desarrollo de SOOTHE pudimos conocer las diferentes formas en que las personas con discapacidad comprenden y expresan esos conceptos de salud mental y bienestar, que lo pueden hacer a través de imágenes, de experiencias y sobre todo sobre las vivencias que han sufrido durante toda su vida. Cómo la tecnología es una estrategia común para paliar necesidades sociales y emocionales, pero incluso para aprovecharla y dar apoyo a todo lo que viene siendo hábitos saludables, ofrecerles diferentes herramientas dentro de una tablet que pueda favorecer a que ellos hagan deporte, hagan ejercicio, tengan momentos de soledad en los que escuchar música. Los participantes cambiaron su concepto, como bien ha dicho Desiree, de lo que era la salud mental gracias al proyecto, ¿no? Pasamos de esa visión biológica y un poco negativista a comprender que para tener una buena salud mental, para tener bienestar, necesitamos estar equilibrados en todos los factores, no solo en el biológico, sino también en el psicológico, en el emocional, en el social. Algo que es realmente importante, no tanto que nosotros percibamos que eso es necesario, sino que las propias personas sepan de la importancia de estos aspectos. En sí, para acabar, la experiencia, bueno, como ya hemos dicho en los seminarios 1 y 2, ha sido calificada como muy positiva. Destacan que con SOOTHE han podido conocer nuevas formas de expresar esos sentimientos. Personas que quizá a veces les costaba sentarse y hablar con cualquiera de nosotros, han encontrado una forma en la cual poder sacar todas esas emociones y darles cabida en su normalidad. Hago un pequeño resumen breve en inglés, ¿de acuerdo? Y acabo. In summary, the findings that we haven't been able, now thanks to this project, bring us closer to being able to better serve the needs that the participants shared, making the participate in the search for solutions. That talking about these concepts has broadened the perception of the participants themselves and also of where we have to look to promote mental health and well-being. The introduction of a new tool such as technology to address the needs, providing us with new ways of offering of response to the different needs, such as getting closer to the family, contact with the professionals, customizable leisures and relaxation space, and monitoring of healthy habits. COVID-19 has been an important factor within the project, taking the emotions of participants to the extreme, offering us the opportunity to explore more emotions wrought by past experience. At the same time, it's also a stressor that can have a very negative influence of people's mental health and affect their well-being due to various restrictions which have been oscillating in the severity throughout this year. Thank you so much. I'm finished.
Thank you, Jose and Desiree. That was very interesting. We're moving on now to the Irish perspective. Okay, so the aim of this presentation is to share with you some of the findings from Work Package 2 in relation to the SOOTHE workshop participants' understanding of mental health and well-being from the Irish perspective. So in webinar 2, Sandra, my colleague, spoke about the logistics of workshop facilitation, preparation for the workshops, timings, instructions to participants, communication with project staff, and debriefing after the workshops. So a recap of Work Package 2. Work Package 2 consisted of 3 workshops. The aim was to establish the participants' understanding of mental health and well-being and to document their thoughts, feelings, and experiences of mental health and well-being that would inform potential solutions to their issues and concerns. So we had 7 adults aged 40 plus with moderate intellectual disability who took part in the workshops. There were 4 main facilitators conducting the workshops: Frank and Pablo, who you've met from Learnovate. Pablo will talk later about the solutions, and myself and Sandra from the School of Nursing and Midwifery. So in workshop 1, we're interested in identifying the participants' understanding of good mental health and well-being. So a great deal of workshop 1 was spent developing a rapport with the participants and really getting to know each person. And that was crucial in forming a firm foundation for this work. So what became more apparent was the impact COVID-19 was having on all the participants, and people were keen to talk about this. Their day services were closed, they missed their connection with their family and not being able to go to the family home. Visitors to their houses were restricted, they were not able to see their friends, they had limited opportunity to leave their homes. So as a result of this, the group tended to focus more on the effects of poor mental health as opposed to good mental health, as these were perceived as important issues and concerns raised by the participants. I'll talk about that later. So workshop 2 was thinking about the flip side was thinking about poor mental health and well-being, and this built very much on our learnings from workshop 1. So things were incremental, and we were learning as we made our way. So participants were able to talk about and express their feelings. One participant spoke about feeling frustration, feeling bored, unhappy, and getting easily annoyed. Another person talked about missing her family, and this makes her feel disappointed, anxious, and feels more stressed. One person said that they felt lonely, anxious, and stressed out, and had recurring thoughts about disappointment and frustration, saying that she just can't get these thoughts out of my head. The continuous worrying was affecting her sleep. So the participants were able to articulate how COVID-19 was impacting upon their mental health. Many participants spoke of the frustrations and the restrictions felt. Watching the news and the television was seen as being bad for mental health due to the constant coverage of the COVID-19 pandemic. And on the other side of this, watching less TV was seen as good for mental health. Participants were vocal in expressing their disappointment at the cancellation of Halloween and Christmas parties, and how they tried to occupy themselves during the day while their day service continued to remain closed for the foreseeable future. Social activities played a significant role in the lives of the participants. As a result of COVID-19, all opportunities for interactions outside of their home had been relinquished. Of particular disappointment for participants was the impact of missing family and how this makes them feel disappointed, anxious, and more stressed. But they like to talk to their families on the telephone. All participants spoke about the cancellation of the annual Christmas party. This created huge disappointment. Participants also expressed disappointment at not being able to visit the family home or to have family members visit participants in their own home. One participant summed up the general frustration as, "It is like having pulled a wire out of a computer and the connection is gone." So whilst acknowledging the usefulness of FaceTime, participants recognized that it was not the same as having face-to-face interactions. So as stated previously, participants' day services were closed. They missed their visits to their family home, and all visits to their house or visitors to their house were restricted. So they were not able to see their family and friends. They had limited opportunity to leave their homes, and their Christmas party, which they all thoroughly enjoyed and looked forward to, had been cancelled. So keeping busy, occupying oneself during the day was seen to be important, and being invited in meaningful activities, involved in meaningful activities such as crafts, cooking, and cups of tea and chats with other people living in the house, but also staff and going for regular walks. Keeping busy was identified as important to help cope with the impact of COVID-19 and maintaining good mental health. And this will be presented in the next slide. So by workshop 3, things were becoming increasingly clear and starting to crystallize as people were able to talk more freely and more confidently, I guess, about factors that may influence their mental health and well-being. So one of the questions were asked about what made people feel good about themselves. So for all the participants, having activities and pursuits and some kind of structure, things that they enjoyed, were seen as important for good mental health and well-being. As already mentioned, going for regular walks, keeping themselves busy by cleaning their homes or their bedrooms, engaging in craft activities and model building, and sharing the plans that they had for the finished product was identified as being important in maintaining good mental health. Participants spoke about the importance of engaging in structured activity and how this was something that made them feel good in themselves. One person spoke about the importance of exercise and recognized that if she didn't get adequate exercise, it would make her feel unhappy. She said that walking and bowling was good for her mental health and feels happier after exercising. She felt less happy at the moment due to not being able to get out and exercise. One person liked to dance with her sister, sing songs, and make cups of tea for friends. For a number of participants, music was hugely important, either by playing an instrument or by listening to their favorite performers. And this was seen as crucial and important for mental health and well-being. So we move on to chatting with friends about good mental health. The significance of chatting to friends about good mental health was identified by participants. Participants also identified the importance of getting along with others and having friends, so this sense of connection. So knowing that you have good mental health, one participant thought that this was a very hard question, maybe a bit abstract. She recognized that being organized, again, making cups of tea and cheering friends up made her feel more happy. Another participant felt happy at the moment and said that it was important for her to be able to laugh. For another person, exercising made her feel good and being able to say, I'm okay. One participant found it difficult initially to articulate what made her more happy, but on reflection, identified that being kind to other people made her feel happy. So finding things to do, and after having my music sessions for one, made this person feel happier. So feelings linked with good mental health. Several participants said that singing and dancing made them feel good. This was a great session for us. The participants sang songs and we joined in, of course. For example, Two Little Boys and Coming Home for Christmas. They identified their favorite songs by ABBA, Daniel O'Donnell, One Direction, and Queen. Participants were able to clarify their individual preferences in relation to the different musical styles or performers. They also identified dancing, such as line dancing or Zumba and dancing with friends, as important in making them feel better in themselves. One person played the guitar for us. Several people sang their favorite songs and others joined in, including ourselves. So people in your lives that help your mental health. This was the next question. So for all participants, the importance of talking with others was highlighted. For example, talking to family members, friends, key workers. One participant, her father and her key worker was seen as important in one participant's life. She also mentioned that God makes me feel good and saying her prayers. One person spoke about two friends that she liked to talk to. Another participant identified that she talks to 3 people in the house where she lives and also one neighbor in the house next door. One person talked to her brothers and sisters. Another talks regularly with a person she shares her house with, and her brother who lives far away, and 2 members of staff that she talks to. One person talks to his parents, his brothers, his friend, and his girlfriend. So socialization and a sense of connectedness was hugely important for participants. Now, I'm going to hand you over to Pablo, who will talk to you about Work Package 3 and the development of solutions to address some of the issues and concerns expressed by the workshop participants.
Thank you very much, Eddie. I love your tone. I hope I do my best with mine. Yeah. So welcome to everyone, and I'm going to tell you a story of constant communication, collaboration, enthusiastic interaction, and true co-creation. In this presentation, you will be able to see how the Learnovate Center team, with their diverse expertise, user experience, user interface, learning and development, innovation services, and technology, supported the SOOTHE Work Package 3. This work package consisted of 3 workshops, one every 2 weeks. During this process, the Learnovate team, in constant communication with work package leaders from Trinity College School of Nursing and Midwifery, which we already know, Eddie McCann and Sandra Fleming, we were able to design and deliver solutions for our focus group to take back control of their own mental health and well-being. This is not a project about tech. It is a methodology to use tech facilities to support people. Our process goes from creative ideas to testable solutions. In this process, we are going through different steps, okay? We begin with the workshop 4, where we frame solutions, we gain insights from the focus group. After the workshop happened, the Learnovate team embarked in its process to ideate solutions that will support participants' needs. Due to the squeeze time for this work package, a technique called rapid prototyping was used to help us bringing ideas into deliverables efficiently and effectively. Splitting in 2 sprints of 2 weeks each, first, we produce storyboards. So these storyboards are the ones that we use to tell the story of our solutions to the participants in workshop 5 and collect some feedback that we need to validate our ideas and refine their form. In the second sprint, we produced 3 deliverable solutions that were presented to the focus group in workshop 6 and trial afterwards. In workshop 4, Trinity College School of Nursing leaders, together with Learnovate team, proposed this structure that is presented here in this mirror board. Remember that my colleague Frank in webinar 2, he explained what we used this mirror tool, which is a digital whiteboarding collaborative tool that we adopted for our purposes. We decided to frame solutions according to the situations that emerged, as Eddie just explained to you, as prominent in the first series of workshops. Socialization, our focus group of people mentioned different aspects of missing interaction with family, friends, and general society. Sleeping, being relaxed to be able to sleep well, was marked as another important aspect as input, it impact in their health and well-being. And music, in general, leisure activities such as listening to music, watching TV shows, reading, talking to friends were mentioned as valuable activities to support people's well-being. From this workshop 4, the Learnovate team, led again by School of Nursing experts and Sandra, I initiated a process of developing solutions that will go around those frames. Again, socialization, music, and independence. We decided to move from independence, from the sleeping ideas to the independence one, because the participant remarked that there was the interest from them. So see that we move from that sleeping to the regain of independence concept while we were ideating. Using our innovation services tools, we defined a series of ideation sessions where full team expressed their ideas and tried to solve our principal jobs to be done that will show us how might we help people feel happier and maintain good mental health. We brainstorm about what they need, how they feel, how are they being seen among others, what barriers they encounter or gains they will get with these jobs being done. We rank these jobs with their barriers and the outcomes in order to have a clear idea and refine the job. We diverge again, ideating, but this time clustering our ideas in 5 different groups. Meet and talk to friends, communicate with my family, listen to music, doing some physical activity, and regain some independence. And finally, we converge by grouping our ideas. We were able then to visualize 3 areas that we will proceed with as our solutions. The ideas were a music player We ideated one last time, but now thinking about the different aspects that will need to be considered, handled, and resolved when designing a music player for our focus group. We put some relevant concepts such as accessibility, sharing ability, how they want to do it, where they want to do it, which features could that player include, which tech functionalities, and why are we designing this? So with this idea, we can help cover this idea of how might we make online music accessible for a user? How might we let them share the music experience? The second idea was around an always-on video link. This idea will cover the communication aspect, the social interactions, how to build community back. Remember our socialization frame from workshop 4. So we call it always-on video link. And we went through the same scheme for ideating. So then with this scheme, we cover how might we allow users to spend time with each other when remotely, or how might we create a sense of community between care houses. On the third idea, finally, we'll cover the concept of getting independence back, control of their own time, and being able to organize and plan activities. With this activity and instructor app, they will be able to know what is the plan of activities for them in their houses. So how might we help people to check what activities are taking place in their houses? This visual here represents the planning from workshop 4 till the end of the process. During week 1 and week 2, the Learnovate team, as we have seen, ideated and produced a first version of 3 prototypes that derive from our focus group needs. After this workshop 5 was used as a validator on our stories and collection of feedback to refine further prototypes. Finally, in workshop 6, the team presented 3 finalized solutions in the form of deliverable prototypes, so participants will be able to get them installed and interact in an open trial stage. Clarity, simplicity, and visual were fundamental when the team designed and presented the storyboards. These storyboards are essential when pitching the future prototypes and solutions to the participants, so they will be able to recognize themselves in the stories and understand the purposes of the solutions. So our solutions were renamed as Day Together. The Day Together app will allow participants to know what is happening anytime, any day, and be able to organize their lives. The Music Together app, this app will allow participants to enjoy the music they like and share with friends. And finally, the Coffee Together app that will allow participants to communicate with friends in a simple manner. The team, in accordance again with the School of Nursing experts, produced a sequence of questions that were used during the presentation of the storyboards. This questionnaire was used to capture participants' feelings about our proposals. We discussed about user experience and engagement. Participants didn't recognize any planning. All the activities had to be organized, as they said, with house staff or caregivers. For example, a phone call with dad or a walk with a friend in the park. Then we asked about technology. Participants during the workshop were asked about the use of the tech devices or different apps such as iPad or Zoom app, Spotify, YouTube, Skype, FaceTime, etc. Then we moved to the aesthetics, navigation, and general functionality questions where participants were able to recognize button actions and make comments about color schemes, button sizes, icons, images, if they're able to read text on screens. And then finally, we prompted some questions about extra features. So for example, they were requested about navigation and how to progress through different screens, how to interact with apps, if they understand the meaning of click or tap or press and other expressions when referring to an app interactivity. After workshop 5, with all feedback from participants, we analyzed their responses and consider changes to be promoted to refine our solutions. This is what happened during the second sprint of our rapid prototyping process. We produced wireframes of the solutions and a finalized first deliverable version of these 3 solutions here: the Music Together app, the Day Together app, and the Coffee Together app. In workshop 6, the solutions were finally presented to the focus group. We share our screen during the Zoom call, and we prompted some questions so they can lead us when navigating through the app flow. Our purpose was to validate this second iteration of the prototypes and to introduce them to the solutions before the trial stage. Well, I'm sure you want to see how all this works, and I have been talking for long, so let's watch the short movie, Your Nice Story.
Lucy is about to get up and start her day. Good morning, Lucy. What's on the agenda today? Breakfast? Exercise? Listen to music? Lunch? Tea with friends? Luckily, Lucy has a new app to help her out with all this. Lucy can access the Day Together app from her personal tablet. Lucy wants to know what activities are scheduled for today. She presses the Today option. She presses the Morning option. First on the list is breakfast. She selects this for more details. Breakfast is on now in the kitchen. Lucy goes to the kitchen to have her breakfast. Later that morning, Lucy checks to see what is next to do. She clicks on the Now button. It's time to listen to some music. Lucy has an app on her tablet that helps her listen to music she likes. She clicks on the Music Together app on her tablet homepage. She clicks on her favorite playlist. Her music starts to play. Lucy really likes this song. She wants to share it with her friend Eddie. She picks up her tablet. She presses the share button. Her list of friends pops up. She clicks on her friend Eddie. Meanwhile, Eddie is in his room listening to his own music. An icon pops up on his Music Together app. His friend Lucy has shared a song with him. He clicks on her avatar icon. The song that Lucy shared starts to play. Lucy and Eddie can now share and listen to each other's music. Later that afternoon, Lucy is checking her Day Together app to see what activity is next. It's time to take part in her video chat with friends and have a cup of coffee. She goes to the sitting room and goes to her tablet home screen. She taps the Coffee Together app. Lucy clicks the Start button. Meanwhile, her friends Eddie and Mary are entering the virtual chat room. The three friends can chat safely and securely. When Lucy is finished, she says goodbye to her friends and presses stop. She can rejoin the room at any time to see if her friends are there. Lucy goes to bed that night delighted that she is able to use technology to remain independent, social, and happy.
Wow, that was fantastic. I hope you all enjoyed the video, the sound properly. So in the last step, the Learnovate team proposed a trial stage for participants to test the three solutions that you have seen, the Coffee Together app, the Day Together app, and the Music Together app, and give some feedback. We produce an installation guide that house staff, the caregivers, will need to follow to install solutions on participants' iPads. And then participants will interact with the apps, and together with their caregivers, they will fill in our feedback survey. Participants still are enjoying the apps today and letting us know how they feel, if their mental health improved, and if their life is happier now. Some lessons learned during this process. We learned how to be resilient, how to be able to adapt our methodologies for the project particularities such as shortened time because of the COVID-19 situation, for example, or people's circumstances and availability. We learned about as well that we needed to be visual when moving all workshops online. We put co-creation as our pillar, so we focus on how to ask participants about their real needs during these uncertain times and how their mental health could be improved. We base on simplicity when ideating, designing and implementing our solutions, and we made tech invisible during this project. So we were able to focus on important things: people, good mental health, life and well-being. This is the end of our story, and thank you very much for your attention. And I hope this process can be promoted, tested, and refined to improve people's life. Any questions, we'll be happy to answer today in the QA section or later. Please contact us at learnovatecenter.org or via the SOOTHE project leaders. Have a nice and safe Christmas.
Thank you, Pablo, and thank you to Eddie and Jose and Desiree and Walter as well. I mean, it's so exciting. This is actually the first time that I've seen this, and I see some of the comments coming in. Somebody saying that they're clapping for joy watching this. So it's the same. I think this is wonderful, and I think there's great possibilities here. And you know, some of the things that if we look at the learning that we've had here so far, we've heard a lot about positive things for mental health being around social interaction, being with others, either in the real or in the virtual situation, having a trusted place where you can speak and people who you know will listen and will not ridicule you or make fun of you, people who will listen and who you can trust, feeling listened to, and having the space to talk. And we've also, really interesting, because there was the context of understanding of mental health from our Spanish colleagues was the past experiences. And I remember when I started as a nurse in the 1980s, the mental health institution was sometimes used as a threat for people, that if their behavior was poor, they would be sent to the mental health institution. And that was a societal thing as well, because people were threatened often that they would be put away somewhere. So mental health became associated with so many negative concepts. And that's been said here. There was a fear of talking about mental health, an embarrassment, almost a stigma. And the idea that mental health was the same as mental illness. And we know now that we all live with mental health at each time of the day. Our mental health is sometimes good and sometimes not so good. And we use our coping strategies and our support networks to help us. So we're interested in looking at the idea of what we call a community of practice. And this is a place where people who have a similar interest in a particular area can come together and can interact. And so I wanted to maybe just have a few minutes to talk with Carlos, Niamh, and Walter about ideas for how we could build a community of practice around mental health and well-being in our own countries, and then extending across the seas to each other, so we could start networking. And in that discussion, I think what we've just seen there in the prototypes and the apps, they may provide a basis for such interaction. So Pablo, Niamh, or Pablo, or Walter, would either any of you like to come in and say something there?
I'll start then. Thank you so much for everyone that's been involved in this and pulling this together. The participants have done incredible work in expressing their things so clearly, actually, and then to be able to harness that through the interview and then through the Learnovate team is absolutely wonderful. It would be wonderful to see this gathering legs, as they say, and becoming more widely available, trialed, and with various iterations in place to constantly improve the content. I suppose one of the things that I see now is that how these apps will apply in the Netherlands and in Spain. Like, how will they function in those societies and cultures? I know that we've all been thrown in the deep end this year with interacting with technology. It's a natural experiment that no one's looked for, but it's actually the suppose the positives are that it has forced us to engage in things that maybe were a little bit kind of less important going back a year or so ago. So all of a sudden that connection and finding ways to have connection has become so important. So I would be really keen to see what Carlos and Walter think about that from their countries' perspectives, and how would what they've seen today go down, you know, the apps in their countries.
Carlos.
Hi, thank you very much. Okay, in our position, in our perspective, we think it's really important to share the information that we have collected in the last time, yeah. And I think the most important thing is that this information come from people with intellectual disability, and it's going to share for people with intellectual disability. And this kind of information is more adapted, and this experience are a treasure. Yeah? It's a really important knowledge that should be shared. And of course, we're going to learn also, and we are learning from these symptoms and from this information that we have learned from them, yeah, from this experience, from this project, from SOOTHE project. And for us, I think it's going to be a good opportunity to start with a community of practice, because now we have some restrictions, social restrictions, and we are forced to use technology. And I'm not the number one in technology, but if I don't have the possibility to speak with my family, I have to use technology to do it. And I think it's a good opportunity, it's a good tool that we can use now. And for example, for us in Spain, I think in our institution, we are quite developed in this thing, because in the first wave of COVID-19, we were forced to use technology to visit our patients, to speak with relatives of the users, of people with ID. And I think it's not going to be really difficult. And of course, the quality of and the quantity of the knowledge is quite important, and we have to do it. Yeah, we are aware that we have some cultural difference between countries, and of course, the concept of quality of life or mental health concerns could be also different. Yeah, between if we compare Spain with Ireland or with Netherlands. I'm pretty sure that the quality of life concept could be other thing, yeah, in my country compared with your countries. But anyway, I think it could be a difficult, but it's also really interesting, yeah, to create a more an open-minded society, yeah, and to make more expand this our point of view from different things, yeah.
So just before Walter comes in there, sorry, Carlos, if we could, I mean, if we think about the things which people wanted in this, and you're right, this knowledge must be used for people with intellectual disability, must be available to them. So there's a need for us to create a way for that to be available in accessible forms, accessible forms in our individual countries, but also there's a need for us to create some situation where we can have interaction, where people can feel safe, where they can talk and be listened to, and where they can learn together. And so the community starts as a small group, perhaps in our countries with some connections, whatever those connections look like. They may be app-based, they may be social media, we don't know at the moment. But then it has the possibility to spread, because the people, one of the plans we had, if you recall, for a future project, is that we would be able to support people to reach out to others. So the people with intellectual disability become mental health supporters themselves. Yeah. But I think getting the community together, first of all, is a really important thing. Walter, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Yeah. I think what Carlos said, there might be a diversity between our countries. I think so. But listening to the presentations, I think that we are all, as we are speaking here, connected to each other, that we are all aiming for this quality of life, quality of health experience by using technology. And I really like to to give you a brief example. When we started with Work Package 1, we used a quite large exhibition hall, and we made posters of all the quilts. So, and people were invited and could present their own quilt. And it was, they all took their parents with them. So, and some friends. It was just before COVID time. So we were able to have an exhibition of these quilts. But in this exhibition hall, there were all kinds of development activities as well. And all these activities were related to increase social interaction by using tailor-made technology. And what is tailor-made technology? That is, the aim is that people do have their personal aims, wishes, demands, and for instance, to keep fit. And there you can go in a cooperation with caretakers, universities, knowledge centers, and people themselves to create new technology. For instance, apps, of course, but also tailor-made Fitbits to measure your condition, navigation tools to use in buildings to find your way, self-guided camera guided three-wheelers and bicycles, especially made for individuals. So to develop multi-experience tools, a kind of virtual reality tools they made. So we were able to invite these people and to give them the new experience by, for instance, using some augmented and virtual reality technology. And so they could express, oh, this is what I like it maybe a little bit developed in another way so that I can use it. So this tailor-made technology to increase social interaction is one of the aims of our Center for Expertise. And it's not only for not getting lost, for instance, not only for these navigation tools, but it's mostly to overcome anxiety, to not to stay home or in your institution, but that you can prepare yourself in a safe environment so that you can find your way when you are really going out actually. So it's to overcome depression and to exchange these kind of negative feelings into unexpected new positive experiences, virtually as well as life experiences. Yeah. So far.
Okay, no, thank you, Walter. So I'm very conscious of time, and I don't want to have people going beyond this time because I know people have other meetings maybe organized after this. But just to sum up that piece of work, and I will address some questions after this. I think there's a good possibility through the network that we have here, and the local groups of people who have taken part in this work, for communities to start building, and for those communities to link together. And there are some easy ways of doing that. At the moment, technology is going to be important in supporting it. One of the great joys of my life in the recent years has been being able to travel to meet people and experience different cultures. And hopefully we will get to that point again at some stage. But the technologies are there, and we've just seen an example of technology. And I think it's important to answer some of the comments and the questions. I think Frank has answered them in the chat. There are lots of people asking about these apps. Are they available? What are they called? At the moment, these are prototypes. These are a work which is being developed in response to a very specific group of people's ideas. But the processes of developing those prototypes are transferable. when you have the technology people available to work with you on that. But we are looking to develop this idea further, and we're hoping to obtain some research funding and innovation funding to allow us to move this forward. And of course, this will happen within the context of the SOOTHE work, which we are committed to sharing as social innovation. Well, I'm saying that, I hope my Learnovate colleagues are nodding their heads as well. So another question which came in was from Bernardine, who was wondering if Trinity College or any of the colleges offer programs, educational programs to support staff on the topic of promoting mental health and well-being. I'm not going to promote Trinity College here, but what I will say is that the SOOTHE project, has as one of its outcomes a desire to create a MOOC, a massive online program, and hopefully to create a master level module which would be available within the context of our masters in mental health or our masters in aging and intellectual disability programs. We would hope that that would be an online module that would be available as a standalone as well. So this project is going to lead to other things. Kathleen has asked, did anybody report that COVID-19 had a positive impact on them? She says, in the rest of the population, some people with mental health issues like anxiety felt during the pandemic that other people could now understand them better. And I wonder, from any of my colleagues in Niamh or Carlos or Jose or Desiree, are you familiar with anybody saying COVID-19 was positive for them?
In some cases, sorry.
Carlos.
Yeah, in some cases, people with autism spectrum disorders, they say it's not so bad. It was not so bad, yeah, because this social possibility to be more alone, yeah, and not with contact. But at the end, of course, it's not positive for people, yeah. But there were some people who didn't have so much problems with this confinement, for example, yeah. I don't think it's positive, but we had some cases.
Niamh?
Yeah, on an anecdotal basis, some people appear to have enjoyed certainly the initial lockdowns where there was less demands. It was like being on holidays. It was a bit of fun. And I think maybe that has lessened somewhat as the lockdowns have continued and there's been, kind of further phases. There are probably a small number of people that still have benefited from maybe the lack of demands, the lack of pressure, the lack of needing to be places and doing things all the time. And I do think that, that within our organizations, we do need to look at what the positives we can take from this, that this isn't just entirely a negative story, that for individuals, and we are looking at individuals, that there may be aspects of this that have actually suited them and the way that they want to live their lives. We need to capture that information and make sure that when we emerge from this in the coming months, that we actually retain the small good things that we've learned from this about people and how they want to live their lives.
Okay, thank you. And I just I'm conscious of time. There were just one more question here and a comment. Martin was asking if there will be written reports available from SOOTHE regarding the developmental work, and he wants to know more about how we approach analysing the pictures and working with people to produce the pictures. We will be writing reports on this. We will be writing information which will be on our website, but we'll also be writing reports to share with the professional community on this. But we also want information from this to go back to the communities who worked on it in accessible forms. So we will do that as well. You will understand that the information for this has come in quite late because of COVID-19. And so the analysis and the detailed analysis is still ahead of us. So we will be reporting on that. And Taufik, who I think was with us last week, has agreed that there's a need for us to develop centres for expertise, which Walter was talking about, but multidisciplinary teams working together. And I think we would all agree that when we all work together with people, alongside people with intellectual disability, we achieve good outcomes. I'm sorry if we didn't get to give other people the opportunity to ask more questions. I do ask you if it's all possible, and I will quickly share my screen before we finish. I do ask you to, excuse me now, just takes a moment to do, to go to our website, and the website is SOOTHE, SOOTHEID.eu. Sorry, you can see I've been moving forward there. SOOTHEID.eu. We will be updating that over the coming days and over the coming weeks as more information starts to come out from the work that we've been doing. And that is an interactive site, and you will be able to find information there, including the slideshows, the presentations, and some of the PowerPoint presentations by themselves. You will be able to find out about each section of the program as well. And we do ask that if you want to replicate this program or undertake it in your own situation, please contact me. My email address is there, and it's on the website as well. And we will work with you to advise. But we really do want to be part of any rollout that happens, because it helps us to understand the project and how it can be developed and made better. The last thing I will say is thank you, and my thank you is not only to you for being here, and for so many of you staying even past the half hour. We're a minute late at this point. I want to thank you, but I also want to thank the SOOTHE team, and this will be my last opportunity to thank them face to face before Christmas and New Year. We've had a wonderful team, and there are more people involved than are here on the screen, and they've all contributed to different parts in different ways. It's been a wonderful experience. They're wonderful people, and I've had the real privilege of working with them. And to see the quality of the work that's coming out. It also provides a really strong basis for us moving forward with this work, because the relationships have been very good. And there's been a respect, I think, all around for culture, for diversity, and that's diversity on so many different levels. So thank you all, my colleagues. Thank you for your engagement with this and for working with me. And I look forward to working with you in 2021 and onwards beyond 2021. To everybody else, as people are starting to leave, I wish you, if you celebrate Christmas, I wish you a happy Christmas. If you don't celebrate Christmas, I hope you have a happy break. I hope you have a good time over the next few weeks, and that you have a safe and peaceful time. And I hope your family and all are well as we work our way through COVID-19 and into hopefully the resolution of this in 2021. So thank you all. I'm going to close the webinar at this point, and we look forward to seeing you maybe in other webinars next year. Thank you.